Now on to the stock markets. A significant gains from key players such as UBA and Unilever are fueling a bull run at Nigeria's stock market as investors eye more earnings releases. Muktar Mohammed, analyst at Assar Investments, joins me now to unpack recent earnings and outlook for the market this week. Muktar, thank you so much. Pleasure to have you on the show today. Well, interesting earnings coming in from across sectors in the market. We have from Dangote Cement, Cadbury, Guinness Nigeria, Nigeria Breweries, and Transco that I just mentioned. Very significant rise in Transco's revenue. But talk to us. Which of the numbers did you find most interesting? From which names?
I think the numbers are very interesting. If you look at Airtel Africa, then you look at Guinness Nigeria, then you look at Nigerian Brewery also, you realize that we still have the challenge of FX. It's still there. It's very, very much there. You could see that those companies have come down to profitability, especially Guinness Nigeria and Nigerian Brewery in terms of profit, in terms of sales, in terms of volume of sales. They are high, but FX challenges is still much there. You could see drove down their profit to negative, about 71%.
So are we also looking at the situation for, they got to the point where, it might also begin to impact on shareholder?
Of course, it's already there for Nigerian Brewery.
Negative shareholder.
Nigerian Brewery already has a negative shareholder. That's why they came for the right issue.
Right issue, right.
So for Guinness, I think with Guinness, because of the acquisition and the strong sales network from the international organization, they have a new institutional investor in Guinness Nigeria. So that, I think that is driving, they seem to pump up a little bit of liquidity in that place to make it, but it's still even in a negative shareholder. If you even look at their earning per share, all of them is negative. That means that as it stands now, shareholders have nothing to profit from those companies now in the short term, despite their profitability. If you look at Airtel Africa, it's even very funny when you look at that result. You realize that East Africa, the rest of Africa, in terms of profit, is not even commensurate to what they gain in Nigeria alone. And because of the FX issue in Nigeria, you could see it has drive down the profit after tax of that company also. For Dangote Cement, I think you saw like diversification, trying to getting earnings from their offshore in Africa. But you could also see that it's less compared to what they do in Nigeria also. Right. So
obviously,
you can see that Nigeria is the key drivers of most of these companies, even if they have offshore companies abroad. And because of this FX volatility, I think it's still having a very negative impact in the consumer goods sector, the construction sector, the telecom sector. Just like last week, the MD of MTN was saying that, the chief executive officer of MTN was saying that if they are not allowed to increase tariff, they may be forced out of Nigeria. There might not be any of the telecommunications.
I think the government is also talking about another 5% excise
duties.
And I remember they were complaining about that.
You are telling them to pay 5% excise duty, and then you are also not allowing them to increase their tariff. They seem to be the only one that have not increased tariff for about 9 to 12, between 12 to 9 years. All that, even the government have increased tariff in their own sectors. So I think government really need to look at that. If that happens, then you could see some of the. If you look, some of them are trying to reduce their volatility to FX by trying to make sure that most of their product or manufacturing products are done locally. So for Nigerian Brewery, you could see that reorganization having a positive impact, including some of their plant, and also making sure that most of their raw material are sourced locally.
It would appear that is perhaps the only way, one of the key ways these companies can stem this, this dollar issue, backward integration. But the question is, to what extent?
That's it. That's it. Because even in the backward integration, like we said, most of the machineries that will even be used need to be imported. So those challenges are there. We've not have the vibrant steel sector in Nigeria where some of these things can be fabricated here.
Right. So how is this? Looking at the numbers, they're still coming in, but I imagine investors are already cherry picking. And how is that going to change the dynamics of trading at the stock market?
I think investors are already key in. If you look at Guinness, if you look at Nigerian Brewery, when the result came out, you saw a slight movement, but before the close of market that day, we saw a retreat in those movements in terms of price. So investors actually have already key in. They know that these are going to be long-term stocks. So most investors,
even for those that are showing some hemorrhaging in terms of profitability.
Yeah, because again, remember, like I said, Nigerian Brewery has done their right issues. So people are also looking at dilution when it comes in. So a lot of these things are being factored in. But when you look at the price in terms of the profitability of breweries, by and by their right issues, when you look at their profit after tax, if not for the impact of these effects, you realize that even with the right, they should be more profitable also. But I think most investors are looking at the long-term drive for some of those equities.
So speaking about rights issue, I wanted you to quickly comment on FBN Holdings initiating a capital raise via rights issue. I mean, what do you think about what FBNH is doing, offering nearly 6 billion new shares?
I like the way they said it, that actually the right issue is towards their flagship subsidiary Nigeria, First Bank Nigeria. So remember that they came in, there was supposed to be a right issue, which was lower than what they were giving, about 12 naira before. Now they've upped it to 25 naira. And if you look at the numbers they've done thus far, I think they seems to still be in profitability. Remember, they are also looking at some of their companies, their holding companies, those that are not core of their business. They are selling them off, like FBN Merchant Bank, FBN Squares and that. So I still think they are trying to reorganize it, but they know that their cash cow is the First Bank, the bank's subsidiary itself. And so they're trying to, most of the investment that they are doing, most of the right issue is geared towards recapitalization of First Bank. Remember that you shouldn't forget that CBN has also told banks to recapitalize and giving them a 2-year plan. And so I think the right issue basically is being driven towards the financial holding side, that's the First Bank itself. And then you still have the tussle is still there of who is the chairman, who is the chairman. So these right issues also is part of way for them to strengthen their hold on the companies. Well,
interesting times in the market. We're going to have to live with it. Muktar, thank you for talking to us today. We appreciate your time. Muktar Mohammed, analyst at Assar Investments, looking at trading and, of course, unpacking some of the Q3 earnings that have come in to the market here in Nigeria.